Do I ever feel unclear about what was psychosis and what was reality? Yeah, all the time. So while I was in psychosis, I lacked the insight to know what was happening, and I just didn't know I was psychotic. I fully believed in these experiences I was having. The thing is that even after gaining insight and coming out of psychosis and learning that I'd been psychotic, they were so real that I just couldn't tell. Like, yeah, there were some things that were so bizarre that they couldn't have possibly happened. And those were easier to tell. You know, things like believing I'd been abducted by aliens and that I was in outer space, or believing that I was a dog when I'm clearly human, believing that my limbs were rotting when they're perfectly fine. Those, yeah, they just don't make sense. There are also things, however, that make sense, things that would be plausible in real life. A lot of things that have taken me a long time to realize weren't real were voices of people that I know. You know, my sister told me something that was so outlandish it couldn't have possibly been real. And it took me 10 years to realize that it wasn't real, because even though it's not something she would normally say, it sounded just like her. I ultimately had to ask her, did you say this? And she said no. So things like that, things like doorbells ringing, car engines revving, people talking, people screaming even, can sound so realistic that I still can't tell. Sometimes it takes years to understand what was and wasn't real. Some things I've just accepted I may never know, and that's okay. You know, it's all something to process as an experience, because even though it wasn't real, it was something that happened to me. And so I treat the trauma from psychosis similarly to if it really happened to me. It happened, and that's all that matters. So whether you can tell if something was or wasn't real after psychosis, even years after the fact, it's still an experience that was real. And the experience is something that you can't refute, you can't take away from. It happened.